AM 560, The Answer.
Squirrel, what do you want to do? You want to do an update on Letitia? You want to do Antifa? What do you want to go with? Minnesota driver license voter fraud? Pick it, Squirrel. Letitia? All right, here we go. She's big. She's broad. Yardstick of ass crack. Letitia James.
A small three-bedroom home in Norfolk, Virginia continues to cause trouble for New York State Attorney General Letitia James. Last week, James was indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia on charges of bank fraud and making false claims to a financial institution. Prosecutors allege the 66-year-old New York prosecutor bought the
66. Maybe that explains the width of her shoulders.
Three-bedroom, one-bathroom Norfolk, Virginia home in August 2020 for roughly $137,000, most of which was financed with a $109,600 loan that prohibited it from being used as a rental investment property. Her ill-gotten gains from the lower mortgage rate amounted to approximately $18,933 over the life of the loan, prosecutors allege. But now, in a shocking addition to the federal charges brought against James, new reporting also alleges that at least one of the Norfolk home's inhabitants is wanted by police, James's own grandniece, Nakia Thompson. According to court
No relation. Nakia's got some problems. She's a bit of a scallywag, and she's the niece of, ironically, Letitia James, the prosecutor.
Documents seen by the Daily Mail, Thompson is officially listed as an absconder who is wanted by authorities in Forsyth County, North Carolina, for failing to finish her probation. Keith Ackrey from the North Carolina Department of Corrections told the Mail that the 36-year-old was sentenced to probation for misdemeanor convictions for assault and battery and trespassing and has willfully avoided probation supervision. Ackrey added,
Take a look at her. She's got the family genes, the shallow genes. Gene pool, shallow, very shallow. She's fugly. And she apparently beat the hell out of some boyfriend, which shame on him for thinking you could date a descendant of Letitia James and think you'd be happy.
That Thompson's crimes were considered low level and thus non-extraditable. The under fire prosecutor's grandniece has reportedly been living with her 3 children in James's 3-bedroom property in Norfolk.
What do you think her occupation is? She probably makes a good ton of money. I'm sure those kids aren't used for welfare receipts. No, not at all. And it goes to show you why the Democrats are always on the side of the scallywag. But L.A. took it to a new level.
The political controversy over the Trump administration's ICE raids on suspected illegal immigrants in Los Angeles is now leading to new action at the local level. Los Angeles County has now declared a state of emergency over the federal presence and the fallout from the feds rounding up thousands of migrants.
So the Los Angeles government has called a state of emergency to protect the illegal aliens. Now, I don't know when the last time you saw L.A. is, but it's really no example of how to run anything. And when you realize what Donald Trump has achieved.
Tonight, new numbers showing the dramatic change at the border.
We've got the most controlled border we've ever had in the history, and in my lifetime in the Border Patrol.
In Eagle Pass, Texas, during the Biden administration, more than 2,000 migrants crossed into the U.S. in a single day. But now, under President Trump's policies, officers encounter just 20 migrants a day here. Tonight, DHS touting the lowest number of illegal border crossings since 1970.
1970? Wow. It's even before Jimmy Carter, that moron that he was, decided to represent oil companies by pretending they were going to run out. Fascinating to realize, and L.A. has a tremendous amount of other problems, not just drug addicts and criminals and cartel members, but homeless. But when you realize how they use the homeless, it'll all come into focus. More useful idiots for government stealing.
Yes, it's definitely a nightmare. These people are being exploited. You know, when I first got, word on Dreams for Change, it was actually a tip on illegals being there, and or Tent City rather. And so I thought, I'm going to go check it out. And then it opened up the door to doing a point in time count there. When I was getting ready to do that, the participants were told that if they don't clean their stuff up, that they will be exited immediately. So as soon as someone comes, they have to paint a pretty picture of what it looks like so that they think there's nothing wrong. Just like at that 15-year celebration, as long as you bring in all these wonderful things and you make it seem like this is such a wonderful place that they're helping people. We've been doing it for 15 years, when in fact they are hiding deaths, they are hiding sexual assaults, they are claiming that there isn't a rat problem, that there are no issues. And it's very disturbing because we spend a lot of money to do that. And
Andrea Morgan did this expose where she reveals not only are they cooking the books on numbers of crime throughout the state, they're cooking the books on exactly the success of the homeless, and they're keeping people there, prisoner, to ring the register on the heads.
Homeless people shouldn't be exploited. They're people too. And I believe that, this woman is Dr. Teresa Smith is her name. Wow. She's a psychologist.
Really?
Or she has a PhD in psychology, I'm sorry. But so the fact that she is actively traumatizing people in itself is very disturbing.
All of this, because what it sounds like is there's a lot of time and energy and resources used toward propping up this illusion. Mm-hmm. The obvious question is, why don't you take those same exact resources and use it to actually serve your clients?
Exactly. But instead they'll pay their employees. They'll always claim there isn't enough funding to do this or that when they're getting millions of dollars. They also have claimed that, we only do part of the things. Like the city has control over, say, what showers go in, what the electricity, all of this stuff. But there are code violations. They're in breach of their contract. They actively, there are drugs being used on the campus or on the site. Even one of their employees who, if you want to show this video, Mike.
So this is happening throughout the Democrat areas. It's not just Chicago where they steal money in the name of illegal aliens and homeless and drug addicts and the money laundering scheme. There's more nefarious activities. Even than that, they register illegals to vote throughout the country in these Democrat enclaves over and over again.
State lawmakers today met to talk about how to prevent voter registration fraud.
It follows a case where a Nevada couple pleaded guilty to filling out hundreds of fraudulent voter registration applications in 13 Minnesota counties. Richard Reed was at the House Fraud Prevention Committee.
Nevada couple, Minnesota counties. So I wonder, do you think it happens in all the counties? Primarily the ones where Joe Biden pretended to win the 2020 election and where the Democrats will pretend they won the Congress seats for the upcoming election?
Committee hearing.
Well, more ideas than answers from this particular committee. This began many, many months ago when local elections officials noticed some inconsistencies in some of these applications. The Secretary of State's office, the FBI, and those local elections officials began investigating to find out what was happening. The House committee had some pointed questions about the case. Federal court documents filed in June say Ronnie Williams and Lorraine Lee Combs filled out voter registration forms with fake names, addresses, date of birth, and Social Security numbers, and that an unnamed foundation paid for them.
There doesn't seem to be a check when this group submitted the fraudulent applications.
So keep in mind all of this that's going on in these Democrat fiefdoms, these Democrat governed areas. When you hear this, it sounds a little different now, doesn't it?
Another thing that's happened, and very few people paying attention, you probably are, which is they demanded, the DOJ did, our voter data. Not just ours. In Illinois, every state's voter data. Why? They won't tell us why.
Because you're lying about who can vote, who's legitimate, the number of citizens that live in your areas. You're caught 8 ways to Tuesday. Every Democrat fiefdom, they run the same scam over and over and over again, and they even put it in their budget.
We are still trying to understand if these people, as news reports flagged, they admitted in some instances that they were paid by the voter registration. So that brings me to the point of this foundation. Clearly, they hired people as independent contractors. 2 of them were found guilty. This group, I've done a deep dive on their 990s. 99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations and has they participated. The foundation didn't participate in fraud, but they hired people with state dollars who then used that to create fake voter registrations.
That's why you celebrate the shutdown. Celebrate it. Because at least for now, there's a stopgap measure where we can expose all the Democrat fiefdoms and all the cohorts of the gangster government mafia. They're easy to identify in Chicago. They're the ones with the butter soft hands and the big fat asses.
And actually, what they seem to be looking for, remember back to the 2020 elections, is they want to be able to find voter fraud, which
I found it! It's wherever there's a Democrat in charge. 312-642-5600.
Call Sean now. 312